So, how do people's cultures affect how they perceive today? And my claim is people's perception of others is based off of what they think of them. So, the image you see here is a perfect example of Islamophobia, and Islamophobia is the irrational fear of someone who is Muslim. And it is a picture of a white man biting his teeth, biting his nails, pointing at a little Muslim girl holding a book. But the shadow depicts them and shooting her with a gun. So, which brings me to my next point. Muslims in the West are highly persecuted. This is due to the fact that people think that they know everything about them, and with recent history such as 9/11 in our country and the Paris attacks over in France, people get the wrong idea of what the Islamic faith teaches, which brings me to my next point. Muslims are misunderstood, but like other Abrahamic religions like Judaism and Christianity, the Muslim faith actually teaches peace and love. And a lot of people don't understand that because they don't take the time to try to understand that. And I like the quote from Leila Abu Lakhud's Muslim Women in the West. And she says, the problem, of course, with the idea of saving other women is that the idea of that they are dependent on and reinforced by an idea of sense of Western superiority by the Westerners. And this shows that people feel like that if you're not from a Western part of the world, like Europe or North America, like the United States and Canada, that you're savages. But if that's true, then why don't we think of Christianity the same way? Because Judaism, Christianity, and Islam originated in Southwest Asia, which is not a Western region of the world. And also, Muslims in the West are a hot topic with both parties, and if you ask two Democrats or two Republicans, you will get two very different answers because it is such a polarizing topic. And also, they have been threatened. You can go online and look up any threatenings of mosques in America. People have called mosques telling them that they're wrong, and if they don't stop holding their services there, that they will face repercussions because of it. The stimulus source that I used is the quote I used earlier is from the stimulus source, Leila Abu Lakhud's Muslim Women in the West, and she is a sociology professor at Columbia University, and she wrote about how she has noticed Muslims, women being treated differently in Western countries than other women. So this is a photograph of a Taiwanese man protesting same-sex marriage in Taiwan, because this shows that same-sex marriage and the LGBTQ community is a very polarizing and a very hot topic around the world. So the LGBTQ community has been misunderstood for a long time, and when a community or culture is misunderstood, this tends to lead to persecution, and this can be shown in history. Like, if the Nazis misunderstood the Jews, which led them to become persecuted, and the and history has a tendency to repeat itself, and it typically does. So this is what has happened with the LGBTQ community, but not as violent as the Nazis were with the Jews. They have had their constitutional laws violated. The RFA, or the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, was a law in Indiana that Mike Pence signed into law when he was still governor of Indiana, and it pretty much barred same-sex marriages after the United States Supreme Court declared that it was constitutional and it was perfectly legal. But because people were afraid of them and they misunderstood the community, that they tried to stop it. And eventually the law was dissolved and it is no longer in place, and now same-sex marriages are legal in Indiana. It is a very hot topic, like Muslims in the West. And again, if you ask two Republicans or two Democrats, you would both get two very different answers because people's personal beliefs have a very big influence on their political ideology. And if by looking at a glance, you would think that Muslims and the LGBTQ community have nothing in common. But when you dig deeper, you find out that they have been misunderstood for a long time. And when someone is misunderstood or something is misunderstood, this tends to lead to persecution. And like I said before, history has a tendency to repeat itself. So in the past, these two groups have been persecuted a lot because they were misunderstood. whether it's from the Roman Catholic Church or it's from the Roman Empire when the Muslims moved up into Spain, and the Romans didn't like that because they were different. So they became persecuted and they essentially pushed them out of Spain. So this picture you see here is a photograph of a vigil in London after the Orlando nightclub shooting. And I really like this picture because it combines both the LGBTQ community and Muslims together. And the poster that woman you see is holding says LGBTs and Muslims unite, oppose all hate. And she's pretty much standing there in solidarity with the people who have lost their lives in the Orlando nightclub shooting. So the solution that I have is that people really need to try to be understanding of where someone is coming from. Because when you understand something or someone, that doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with it, but that can lead to respect, that you can respect it. And you can respect something but not necessarily agree with it. And when you respect something, you will have more tolerance towards something. So an implication of this is when people become more understanding of other cultures, that it would lead to less civil unrest and people would just get along better and respect each other on a more human level.
Okay, one question for you, Nathan.
Yes.
If you did have more time, what additional research would you conduct related to this issue?
I had a source that I didn't use that I would like to research more to put in here. It was about filibustering in the Senate and how we are the only democratic republic, how we are the only country in the world that our highest house of legislature can't act immediately, and every other country doesn't have a filibuster. So I would like to tie that into that and use that for saying like how there's more than one aspect of